In a decision that sent shockwaves from Washington to Beijing, a federal appeals court delivered a stunning rebuke to a former president. The court struck down the use of emergency powers to impose sweeping tariffs, fundamentally altering the landscape of presidential authority. This landmark ruling marks a pivotal moment in the debate over executive power, especially in trade policy. For businesses, allies, and consumers impacted by tariff wars, this is more than a legal footnote. It's a seismic event. The ruling signals a return to a more predictable, rules-based international economic order. The legal challenge, brought by a coalition of American businesses, was a last stand against unchecked executive overreach. The court's action draws a firm line, questioning the foundation of economic nationalism that defined the previous era. At its core, the case asked, can a president declare a national emergency to bypass Congress and impose global economic policies? The court's answer, a resounding no. This judgment reaffirms that the authority to regulate international commerce belongs to Congress, not the president. The shockwave from this legal earthquake will be felt for years, influencing everything from domestic politics to international diplomacy. To grasp today's ruling, we must rewind to 2018, a year of dramatic change in American trade policy. The Trump administration, under an America First agenda, imposed steep tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, citing national security. These actions, justified under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, sparked immediate controversy, even among allies. The administration soon targeted China, launching a tit-for-tat trade war that disrupted global supply chains. American farmers, manufacturers, and tech companies faced higher costs and lost markets as the economic battle escalated. Critics argued the tariffs were a blunt instrument, functioning as a tax on American consumers and businesses. Many questioned the national security rationale, especially as tariffs hit close allies like Canada and the EU. The aggressive use of tariffs created economic uncertainty, with businesses struggling to plan for the future. While the administration claimed to protect American jobs, many sectors reported significant harm. Frustrated businesses began to question whether the president had the authority to wage such a far-reaching economic war without Congress. The tariff strategy escalated when the administration invoked emergency powers to justify further trade actions. Former President Trump declared a national emergency, unlocking broader executive authority and bypassing Congress. This move, based on the National Emergencies Act, was highly controversial. Critics called it a power grab. Legal scholars and lawmakers argued that trade disputes didn't rise to the level of a true national emergency. A coalition of businesses, represented by universal trade advocates, sued, claiming the president exceeded his authority. They argued the emergency was a pretext, setting a dangerous precedent for unchecked executive control over commerce. The case, American Business Coalition versus United States, became a focal point in the debate over separation of powers. Billions in commerce hung in the balance as the legal battle played out. Today's decision from the U.S. Court of Appeals marks the climax of this legal fight. In a 2-1 opinion, the court ruled that economic disputes don't meet the legal standard for a national emergency under the National Emergencies Act. Judge Eleanor Vance wrote that the national security justification was a convenient label to bypass Congress. The court emphasized that Congress, not the president, holds the power to regulate foreign commerce. Allowing emergency declarations for trade would nullify Congress's role and open the door to unchecked executive authority. Judge Robert Sterling's dissent argued for deference to the president on national security, but the majority prevailed. The decision invalidates tariffs imposed under the emergency declaration and sets a binding precedent. Other tariffs remain, but the ruling strikes at the heart of the most constitutionally questionable trade actions. The legal shockwave sets the stage for a profound rebalancing of power in Washington. The economic consequences of this ruling are immediate and far-reaching. American companies relying on imports are the biggest winners, expecting relief from years of higher costs. This could mean lower consumer prices and a more competitive business environment. Domestic industries once shielded by tariffs, like steel and aluminum, now face renewed competition. Internationally, U.S. trading partners welcome the decision as a step towards stability and predictability. The ruling is seen as a victory for the rules-based international order and could pave the way for renewed trade negotiations. However, only tariffs enacted under the emergency declaration are affected. Other tariffs and tensions remain. The global economy is still recovering from years of uncertainty and disrupted supply chains. While this decision is significant, it's just one piece in the complex puzzle of global trade. The ripple effects will force businesses and governments to adapt to a new economic landscape. The political fallout is as significant as the economic impact. In Washington, the ruling is hailed as a victory for Congress and a check on executive overreach. Lawmakers now have a powerful legal precedent to reclaim their constitutional authority over trade. This could spark bipartisan cooperation to clarify and limit presidential power on tariffs. For the executive branch, it's a moment of reckoning. Future presidents will have to work with Congress, not around it. The decision encourages a return to governance based on compromise and collaboration. It also deepens political divides over the role of the judiciary and the presidency. The debate over executive power will remain central in American politics. Legal experts call this ruling a watershed moment for constitutional law. For decades, courts rarely questioned presidential emergency declarations. This decision breaks that tradition. It signals that the judiciary will scrutinize whether a genuine emergency exists, not just accept the label. The case recalibrates the relationship between Congress and the president on trade, reminding all that delegation isn't a blank check. By striking down the use of the National Emergencies Act for tariffs, the court sets a new standard for executive action. The ruling empowers others to challenge executive overreach, lowering the barrier for future legal challenges. It could spark litigation in other areas where emergency powers have been used, from immigration to public health. Ultimately, the decision reaffirms the separation of powers and the checks and balances at the heart of the Constitution. It's a civics lesson in action, showing that no branch is above the law. With this ruling, the U.S. stands at a crossroads in its approach to international trade. The era of unilateral, presidentially driven tariffs appears over, at least for now. The immediate challenge is managing the transition away from emergency-based tariffs. Agencies must guide businesses on lifting duties and adjusting supply chains. The focus now shifts to Congress, which must craft a new, forward-looking trade agenda. This could mean modernizing trade laws and seeking new agreements with allies. The decision offers a chance to reset strained diplomatic relationships and rebuild trust. Yet, debates over protectionism versus global integration persist. The future of U.S. trade policy depends on leaders' ability to forge consensus. The debate isn't over, but the rules have changed, pushing the contest back to Congress. Today's court decision is more than a trade ruling. It's a defining moment for American democracy. It reaffirms that the U.S. is a government of laws, not men, and that checks and balances remain vital. The legal battle began with business owners who believed the government overstepped its bounds. Their victory is a win for every citizen who values due process and the rule of law. The ruling calls on Congress to embrace its responsibilities and the executive to respect its limits. It's a powerful affirmation that the Constitution remains the ultimate authority. The shockwaves from this decision will shape politics, the economy, and America's global role for years. Today, the system proved it works,